Well, it is that time once again, episode 31 of Double Coverage Sports Talk presented by Elevated Sports. And episode 31, following up our mailbag episode, is another big one. We have the voice of TexAgs Radio, Gabe Bock, here with us, our current boss and friend and mentor as well. Gabe, thanks so much for being on the show with us.
Don't call me Mr. Bock. That's my badass dad who was in Vietnam behind enemy lines in reconnaissance voluntarily after getting drafted in the Army.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I want Marine Corps. Give me the toughest thing possible. I'm the schmuck in the Bock family that did not serve our country with dignity and honor.
Well, I'm
the one guy. You should think about Thanksgiving and Christmas at my house.
Yeah.
When we go to Denison.
Yeah.
And I'm the little radio guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
A little journalist.
Hey, well, you serve the country through attacking the airwaves, so you do your part.
Appreciate you. I'm Gabe. Thank you very much.
I aspire to be the little radio guy.
I think it's probably part of the contract is you guys get to use the studio.
Exactly.
So I have to be on at least one episode.
Exactly.
We've had Dalton on. We're getting you on now, and tried to get Dalton on as well, but he had better plans as he walks past the window to go do whatever else he's doing.
Lunch. He's having some barbecue next door.
Oh, possibly Jersey Mike's.
Oh,
he's been
Jersey
raving
Mike's.
about the Jersey Mike's in town.
I think that's been the best and worst thing for Dalton since he came in the last month.
Well, I mean, hey, they have healthy sandwiches, but man, we've got a lot to get into. It is March Madness time. The bracket was revealed last night after the conference championships were decided. We're going to touch on NFL free agency and then get into the brackets. There's a couple of really, really loaded sections of the bracket. The South, the Midwest are super loaded.
Yeah.
It could really be upset central. So I'm excited to dive into that a little bit. But first, let's start with a very busy NFL free agency period. Both of you guys were kind of on vacation when a lot of this went down.
Yeah, update us. What the heck happened, Mitch?
A lot of money changed hands. Although I think you have to start with Le'Veon Bell signing with the New York Jets. He didn't get reportedly as much as the Steelers were offering him. And
yeah, I'm a little confused by this. You know, I mean, Le'Veon Bell sits out a whole year in an effort to really get what he feels like he deserves, and then he signs for less money than the Steelers would have given him anyway. I'm not sure what's happening in Pittsburgh, too. That seems like a train wreck.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell's contract, 4 years, $52.5 million. Like you said, he turned down a 5-year, $70 million contract from Pittsburgh prior to sitting out the 2018 season. But like you said, I think it speaks to more of what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, you've heard Antonio Brown be hypercritical of ownership, of Ben Roethlisberger. He's obviously now in Oakland. What do you guys think is the biggest problem for Pittsburgh? Is it something that they have to change internally? Is it Ben's fault? Give me your thoughts on this.
What do you think, Luke?
Well, it's a shame. I think when you turn 30 and you're a big-time receiver, you start getting dramatic. And
it's part of the position.
Antonio Brown's tried to point fingers, call out Mike Tomlin, call out Big Ben, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see if he's truly the problem in how he plays in his new destination.
Hey, he's certainly excited to be a Raider.
Yeah,
well, he is for now. He hasn't played any games,
exactly.
and the Raiders are. I like some of the stuff they're doing, but I still think they're a ways off.
Yeah,
and we'll find out when they're sitting 1-4 if he's changed his tune or not.
Oh,
is this an Antonio Brown issue? Or is it addition by subtraction?
Mm-hmm.
And Ben's not getting any younger either.
No, he's
you
not.
know, and Tomlin's been there forever, and every coach has a shelf life. Every coach has an expiration date. We've seen this around here with the basketball coach, right?
Yeah.
Just recently.
Yep.
So, man, it just feels like massive change is upon us if you're a Steelers fan and moving forward. And it's probably not over. It might be over for the here and now. Jesse James is gone too.
Mm-hmm.
Might be over for the here and now for this year. But, I mean, how much more does Ben have left? And how much more does Mike Tomlin have to give this organization? We'll find out.
That's right. And they've had a lot of success. And unfortunately for them, the problems don't stop internally because externally, one team is getting much better in the AFC North. And it's not the Ravens, who also said goodbye. Yes, they added Earl Thomas, but they've said goodbye to some good defensive pieces. But, man, the Cleveland football Browns.
How about the Browns?
Come on.
Out of nowhere,
Cleveland.
I hopped on the bandwagon when they drafted Myles Garrett. I've always been kind of interested in just them as a franchise because eventually they have to turn it around, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Royals factor.
Yeah, I want to be watching when they finally do. And this offseason, they've gotten Odell Beckham Jr. They've gotten Olivier Vernon. Man, they fleeced the Giants. What is going on in the Meadowlands? They fleeced the Giants for both Odell and a premier pass rusher. And then the Giants turn around and they're rebuilding, but they're not. They go out and sign Golden Tate. Are the Browns AFC North champions at the end of this upcoming season? You think so?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Baker.
Yeah.
I like what Baker's all about, and I had my doubts of him with his size, with that system, and whether it would work in the NFL. I think he's a real leader.
Yeah.
I like him a lot. Now you get playmakers all over the field. Odell to go with Landry. I mean, the old LSU 1-2 punch.
Guys, yep.
That's going to be crazy. And then Hunt's not going to be out very long. So they really got off scot-free.
8 games? Yeah, so half the season, but he's on a one-year prove-it deal anyway.
That was a roll-of-the-dice move that could pay off in October, November, and fresh legs there.
Yeah, Nick Chubb there too. I mean,
and Duke Johnson.
Yeah, their backfield is super talented. They've got offensive weapons. David Njoku as well.
Njoku's a beast.
Yeah, at the tight end position.
Is he a second year or third year?
This is his second year.
Yeah. I think it's his third year, right?
Is it?
He just finished
he got drafted with Miles.
He just finished his second year, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So it is his third year.
We're talking about a 23-year-old, that's just an incredible specimen.
I mean, I think it's
what they got defensively, too. They got
absolutely.
Pieces.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's no excuse for them not to make the playoffs, especially with what's going on in Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and then Cincinnati's still shambles.
You got to think Baltimore is the biggest threat, right? That it's the Browns and the Ravens.
And the Ravens still have a lot of question marks, especially with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, they can't throw.
Yeah, and then like they added, like I said, but they're losing some defensive pieces. But man, if you're a Cleveland Brown fan, for me selfishly, now I have new players to hold on to instead of just always loving Kellen Winslow, the Kellen Winslow days when I used to play with him in Madden.
Goodness.
But now Cleveland, it looks like they're going to make the playoffs and have a dynamic foundation going forward, which I thought was impossible.
Yeah, well, remember, this isn't the Cleveland Browns of yesteryear. It's because of who's calling the shots now.
Yeah.
And while their owner's still quite flaky and probably not a real football guy, what they've got going in Cleveland is what they don't have going in Dallas, and he knows that. And he's allowing football people to make football decisions.
Yeah.
And he's smart enough to hire a guy like John Dorsey. Yeah. John Dorsey is a football guru that's been around the game for a long time. And what he's building right now, this is different because you got a real football guy, a football lifer making football decisions in Cleveland.
Exactly.
And they're building something special. They really are.
Absolutely. And they stick with Freddie Kitchens, right? He's their head coach going forward. Don't
know much about Freddie.
No, we don't. Yeah. But I wasn't a huge Hugh Jackson supporter necessarily, but I wasn't one that was saying he's the problem, get him out. But, as soon as Baker came in and it looked like they weren't best of friends, to put it lightly. And then obviously Jackson leaves. Baker has several instances where he kind of stares down Jackson on the sideline in different games once he got rehired. It seems like now that Jackson is out, the Browns can cut away from, like you said, the Browns of yesteryear and revolutionize what it means to be a Cleveland Brown. They're going to be very, very exciting to watch. They're going to get a lot of primetime games this season, which is going to be very weird.
Seeing the orange and brown on Sunday night.
No, I won't have to get NFL Sunday ticket just to watch them.
Yeah. The thing here is you're not throwing a quarterback into the fire now. They've had. It's not like they've had just awful guys at quarterback. They've had
Derek Anderson had some really good guys.
Even like Brandon Weeden wasn't an awful guy. I mean, he was a good quarterback, but you threw him into situations with no hope. Now you've got two. Now, yes, Colin Cowherd would say receivers are just icing on the cupcake and they're not that important, but you've got two dynamic guys, a dynamic backfield, plus cornerstone players on defense that can make up for bad stretches in offense. I mean, Baker Mayfield is in a situation where he has an unlimited amount of success, especially with downfield threats where he's very successful throwing the ball down the field. I'm very excited to see
he's got the
Baker.
Deep threat, and Antonio Callaway is his third wide receiver
as a third option.
Don't forget about that. Absolutely.
So it's exciting
Callaway
times.
Really came on last year.
Yeah, it's exciting times in Cleveland, and Gabe, I think you touched on it. It's what we want to see happen in Dallas as Cowboys fans, where, as long as Jerry Jones has been around the game, it's like he hasn't learned anything from a general manager standpoint, which we all know he loves to have his fingers in the pie there. And, it's another bland offseason for the Cowboys. We haven't really spent any money. We've signed, we let Cole Beasley go. He's now in Buffalo. And the Cowboys go get, a backup defensive tackle. We're thinking maybe signing Randall Cobb here to a flyer deal. He's visiting with the Cowboys today. But when you look at what the Cowboys could have gone out and done, especially at a position like safety where they have a massive need, your strong safety in Jeff Heath is one of the worst tacklers just statistically in the NFL, and he's your box safety.
Probably a better backup kicker than a safety.
Yeah, and so, it was disappointing to see the Cowboys not do anything.
No,
he's a
great guy, but...
Yeah, exactly.
The team is actually pretty close to a run. And
yes.
I don't understand why you don't capitalize on that when you've won 2 playoff games since the mid-'90s.
Right.
I mean, come on now. This team hasn't even sniffed a Super Bowl run in 20-something years.
Well, and there was a tweet that went out, I think, last week at the very beginning of free agency, and it was a bunch of young teams like the Rams, the Eagles, the Chiefs, all who have a thing in common where they drafted a young quarterback, so he's on a relatively cheap rookie deal, right?
Yeah.
With that cheap money invested in the quarterback, you go out and aggressively add talent to give him weapons to do that. And the point of the tweet was to say that the Cowboys haven't done that, mostly because of how poorly they've managed the business side of it. They have had so much dead cap money that's just been laying around that they cannot use to go out and get weapons for Dak, that it's ultimately cost him. And, you have the whole debate over whether or not, the offensive coordinator and Scott Linehan was, progressive enough for Dak, if he was letting him get outside the pocket and run. That we'll see what happens this year. But the Cowboys look like they've missed yet another opportunity to make a deep playoff run, to really, cash in on all the money that they're saving with Dak. And now he's going into this is his last year of his rookie deal, right? He's going to be wanting probably close to $30 million, and I don't think the Cowboys can afford to give him that.
Right. You got to figure out this year whether Dak Prescott's your quarterback of the future.
Yeah.
And I would say that's a 50-50 proposition.
Yeah,
and
it is a flip of the coin.
We're going to learn the answer this year on that. But you load up with more weapons for that guy, and who knows? I mean, he's proven, and if you have the right situation where you actually let him do the things that he can do well.
Right.
Dak on the move, all of a sudden they can make
lethal.
a run.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He can make a run December and into January.
Yeah.
But you got to put the pieces around him. I've always said Jerry Jones is probably the best owner in the NFL and the worst GM.
Yeah.
Problem is he's got both titles.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that he has surrounded himself with real football people. And the few times that he has, they've been the most successful.
Right.
The Jimmy Johnson era, the Bill Parcells era.
Absolutely.
I really wish they'd have been more aggressive. I understand not spending bukus of cash for Earl Thomas, who's a little bit old, a little bit short, and a little bit injured.
Yeah.
But at the same time, make something happen.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand not overpaying for Eric Berry if he's banged up.
Sure. And
you got to see some more things happen than Christian Covington being your signature move of the offseason.
Exactly. Yeah. And, you look at the Packers who go out, they sign a safety in Adrian Amos away from division rival Chicago.
Yep.
4 years, $37 million. He's a young guy. Is he, an elite safety? No, probably not. But at the same time, he's very young. He's effective, and he fills that spot. They trade away HaHa Clinton-Dix. He's no longer in Green Bay. They have a glaring need at safety, and Adrian Amos is good enough to get the job done and hold down that, back third of the field, if you will. It's just frustrating to see the Cowboys kind of ignore obvious needs and not go out and be willing to spend money. And Jerry Jones has either burned the Cowboys with horrendous free agent deals, or he's just refused to spend money. And so, a little bit of balance in that would be really, really nice, to say the least.
Yeah, that's a good point you make. I mean, the Seahawks, they won with Russell Wilson on a rookie contract, and they were able to pay unlimited amounts of money to the no-fly zone on defense, plus offensive weapons. You look at Cleveland; they're able to bring on an Odell Beckham in that expensive contract that the Giants extended him to 7 months ago, because Baker is so extremely cheap right now.
Yeah.
And with Dak, I said probably 2 years ago, it may have been the Cowboys' best chance to get to a Super Bowl with a healthy team, a decent defense, the shock factor of Dak. But they weren't aggressive at adding more and more pieces.
Jason Witten not coming out of retirement to play.
That's right. And we could go days just raving about that.
When's the last time the Cowboys have spent a first or second or even third round pick on a safety? It really has been a long time.
I guess I could cheat and
say...
Would
it be Roy Williams? Did we draft Roy Williams?
Drafted Roy Williams.
Yeah, you drafted Roy Williams. Yeah, I mean, you could cheat and say Byron Jones, but he's a cornerback. You know, he's played both.
Right.
But as far as true safety, to your point, it has been forever. And I mean, Xavier Woods, we found gold in the 6th round with Xavier Woods. He's an adequate free safety. Yes. I like him a lot. I think he's got a lot to improve on, but he's a very, very solid piece, and you have him on a 6th round contract, which is beautiful. Right. You just have to fill in the gaps. You can't make up a team full of 6th rounders and expect to compete for a championship. Yeah. And you have one of the best, defensive back coaches in the country in Chris Richard, and it feels like that would be just such an obvious hole to fill. Give him the pieces to play with to keep him here. Give him something to work with so that he doesn't take a Miami job when it comes available.
Right.
And it was a blessing that he didn't take a job this offseason.
Agreed.
Yeah. And it fell right into our lap. They were able to have him one more year. So we'll see if Jerry wants to take advantage of that.
So let me ask you this as we conclude the football segment. If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, which we all are, change obviously needs to happen in Dallas. We're stuck in this, just mire of mediocrity. Are you rooting for a terrible Cowboys team in 2019?
Never.
Okay.
That affects my Sundays too much. I like my Sundays to be nice, smooth sailing.
Church right to happy Cowboys, right?
No, I'm rooting for a 12-4 season and a bye and a host and make a run in January.
Yeah.
But is that being a little too optimistic? Yeah. I think it is. Yeah. But you still have we'll see what happens. And I'm not trusting Kellen Moore at all. So
he's got to prove a lot this year.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Chris Richard.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's back because if it is,
head coach.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I really like that guy a lot and glad that he didn't take another job.
And there is hope for the Cowboys. We didn't extend Jason Garrett. He is on the last year of his contract. Yep. So, I mean, there are a lot of questions that have to be answered by just default at the end of the season.
This is the crossroad year for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. Yes, and that's why I asked that question is, would you want to see, and as a pure fan, obviously no, you want to see your team go 16-0 and make a run to the Super Bowl. But in a crossroads year when Jerry has to make a decision, like it or not, he's got to keep Jason or get rid of him. I'm leaning a little bit more to, I wouldn't be disappointed for the long-term health of the Dallas Cowboys if something went wrong and we go 7-9. You know what I mean? What do you think about that?
I mean, like Gabe said, this is a huge year for the Cowboys. Maybe it was just Scott Linehan. Maybe that was the problem.
That'd be great.
And we're going to find out if by giving Dak more freedom, can he become the quarterback we hope he can become? Because it would be lying to ourselves if we said Jason Garrett doesn't rally the team. Like, the players enjoy playing for Jason Garrett.
Nobody gets a hands clapping like Jason Garrett.
Yeah, and like they enjoy him as their head coach. Yeah. From the fan perspective, we don't think he's the most genius when it comes to football.
Yeah.
But maybe Linehan was that big of just a disaster for the Cowboys, and we'll see more freedom for Dak, and that will be better. I love that we have John Kidna on board. I was hoping he would have been the OC. But he's the quarterback's coach, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So he'll be in Kellen Moore's ear. Like I said, I love that Richard's on board. So we've got good foundation of coaches wise, and I love that Linehan's gone. But I mean, it's still a lot of unknown. I hope for a good year, but I hope for changes up top eventually going forward with Jerry,
right,
in a miraculous way, relinquishing control of the football moves.
Real quick, with the Dallas Cowboys' first pick, whether they trade up and try to get a little bit higher slot from where they are, or if they stay where they are, which would be a second-round pick, right? You think edge guy first? You think safety first in that range?
Such
you think
a good question.
Get you a guard center combo because you have to have insurance behind Frederick.
Yeah, I mean, I've done 2 mock drafts for this show, and I had the Cowboys in the second one taking a defensive lineman, like an Isaiah Buggs type guy. Now you at least sign Christian Covington to fill kind of that backup role. Is he going to be dynamic? Probably not, but I think your biggest need right now is certainly either pass rusher or safety.
Yeah. Irving's out. Gregory suspended again.
And probably won't come back.
And we don't know the true future of Lawrence.
Yeah, exactly. And
I go get an edge guy. And this is a very historically deep year for defensive
it definitely is. So yeah, I mean, it all depends where, if the Cowboys sit back, I think they end up taking a defensive line. If they're there at, 54 is their pick. I don't think there's a safety that's going to be there that you say, yeah, that's our second-round safety. I think if they move up, they're going to go get a safety like a Taylor Rapp from Washington.
He'll be gone by 54 probably.
But yes, absolutely. He will be off the board by that point. So, it all depends what the Cowboys want to do in that war room. And, historically, the Cowboys have drafted fairly well. So, Will McClay has done a very, very nice job of making sure that cooler heads prevail. Now, they missed in their second-round pick with Connor Williams, but Leighton Vander Esch was an absolute diamond in the rough. I mean,
no question.
There were a lot of eyes rolling when the Cowboys took him, and obviously he proved them wrong. So,
yeah, and I don't like giving up on rookies, even if they are Longhorns.
Sure.
I mean, I'll give him another. See if he can gain. He's got to gain 20 pounds.
He's a lightweight, and I went to high school with him, and he was a lightweight
by default,
in high
guys
school.
From your high school are lightweights. I'm just kidding. Not that guy that went number 2 or 3 overall. He's
not Solomon Thomas.
Solid. He's pretty good.
But I mean, when he was recruited as a left tackle, I was shocked.
Yeah.
I thought he was. I mean, he
seal an edge.
He was the weight of like a linebacker.
Yeah.
I mean, I was shocked, and then I was shocked at his success at Texas when he was healthy before the knee injury. So maybe this guy has the footwork and the hands to be really good, but he does need weight because he was getting annihilated in the interior line on run blocking.
Yes.
I mean, it got bad at one point, but
I'm just not ready to totally throw.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't kick him off the roster.
It's tough to be successful.
Yeah. Oh, I was ready by when Adrian Claiborne, by about midway through the second quarter, I was done with Chaz Green.
I think he's a Raider now, by the way. I think someone else, I think Oakland signed him. So a lot of holes to be addressed for this Dallas Cowboys team, but I mean, every team has holes. And so this is where you separate your franchise from the pack. How do you close out free agency? How well do you do in the draft? And then we'll see how the Cowboys perform in Oxnard and going forward into the 2019 campaign. But that's in August. This is March, and we are on to March Madness, one of our favorite times of year. I wish we had one shining moment playing in the background right now.
I think y'all's first episode of your show happened right after March Madness.
Yeah, I think
a couple years ago.
Yeah, one of our first ones. We went down to the national championship game,
That's
and
right.
that was a heck of a road trip. Got back at
after
3 a.m.
I saw my Jayhawks get throttled by Villanova, hitting every three known to man.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to get into your Jayhawks. But a very interesting bracket this year. You have a lot of really startling upset potentials with 5 and 12 seeds, 4 and 13 seeds. I texted Luke as soon as I saw the bracket. I was like, man, this may be a real legit year to pick like all the 12s or all the 13s over 4, just because you have the top tier teams like Duke that have shown, okay, we are an elite team. But this has also been a heck of a year for mid-major teams. I mean, you look at a Utah State team that is coming in red hot, a 12-seeded Oregon that just dusted Washington in the Pac-12 tournament.
Even without bowl, they're playing their best basketball right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's get into it, and I want to ask right off the top, what is your most intriguing first-round matchup that you look at and you say, okay, either this is a lock for an upset, or this one has the most storylines going into? Which one are you for sure going to be by the TV for?
For me, it's Minnesota-Louisville.
Yeah.
You got Rick Pitino coming
right.
back from Greece.
Yep.
Who knows every player on this roster.
Uh-huh.
It's Chris Mack in his first year, and I like what they're about. I think Louisville's a good team, and if the bracket had fallen their way better, it's all based on matchups.
Mm-hmm.
I was prepared to pick Louisville if the matchups worked out to potentially make a Sweet 16 run.
Yeah.
I really like this Louisville team, but you got Richard Pitino.
Yeah.
In Minnesota, that's a pretty dangerous team. A&M played them earlier this year.
Yes, we did.
And then you got Rick helping out on the scouting report. This is going to be pretty interesting. To me, just that whole storyline is an interesting one. I think Louisville survives Minnesota, though, with talent. And I love Chris Mack, but they don't last very long because Michigan State has Cassius Winston and Louisville doesn't.
Yeah.
That's true. My big matchup is the two players of the year going at it, possibly in number 12, Murray State versus number 5, Marquette. We've got John Morant from Murray State against Marcus Howard from Marquette. I mean, my goodness, that is going to be some guard play. I'm gonna pick Murray State because I think Marquette's cooled off a little bit near the end of the year. But man, John Morant, his athleticism, he dunks on the entire team no matter who he's playing. And then Marcus Howard can go for 40 against anyone.
Or 50.
Or 50.
He's gone for 40 multiple times.
Oh yeah,
like 4 times.
So if you're in for a barn burner, I mean, these are like if you liked watching Trae Young play college basketball last year, you're going to want to tune into this game. I think Murray State's a little undervalued at a 12 seed. I thought they'd be higher.
The Racers. Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, Marquette was a 3 seed about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So these are 2 very good teams with extremely explosive guards. I think it's going to be a great first-round matchup.
What teams who's yours?
I was going to say Yale and LSU.
Oh,
I think Yale beats LSU. Yale's a very hot team right now. Just
the non-scholarship team versus the LSU scholarships plus
something.
Yeah.
With that storyline, Will Wade obviously embroiled in controversy. I think the Bulldogs straight up upset the Tigers. I just think I think LSU has LSU has the talent to win this game and beat Maryland in the next round and potentially, waltz their way into the Sweet 16. But I think there is so much going on with that program right now, internally, externally.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone is essentially against you if you're an LSU Tiger because, I mean, this is one of the biggest scandals that college sports has had in a very, very long time. And so it can either break you and LSU will be all over the place and scattered, or it might unify the players that are left on this team, sans Will Wade, and, I don't know, turn them into some sort of rebels, I guess. But I'm going to take the Bulldogs. I just have a feeling that the Tigers go down in round 1, so I'd like to be there to watch that one.
I mean, LSU is a dangerous pick because they're using this as motivation, or they're going to crumble, like you said. But you look at their team, they've got some alpha dogs.
They got pieces.
Naz Reid, Javonte Smart, Tremont Waters, Bigby Williams. I mean, they're one of the most scary teams just looking at them walk into a gym than almost anyone in the country.
Veteran.
Yeah.
Bigby Williams, they can get extra shots. They can score in the half court. They defend the rim. Really good guard play. They shoot the 3. They can penetrate.
Yep.
They really have – if this whole thing weren't – and they might have been a dang 2 seed.
Oh, yeah.
Without this. And if this whole thing hadn't happened in the last 3 weeks, I might be picking them to a Final Four.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of good stuff going for them. But I learned, I'll show you how smart I am. I picked Arizona to win the national championship last year because I thought the same thing. It might galvanize them. They still have Ayton. Sean Miller's back.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, Will Wade's not back.
No.
Sean Miller was back.
Right.
Yeah.
And they lost in the first round.
Yeah.
That's
so my
true.
bracket was toast on day 1 last year.
Arizona doesn't even make the tournament this year.
Yeah. No, exactly. No. But they had a lot of veterans last year to go along late in last year. But LSU, that's going to be interesting because if Belmont beats Temple, I think Belmont beats the Turgeons.
I agree. Belmont is a very, very good team. And I think the committee did a great job getting them into the tournament instead of picking like an Alabama
or TCU.
Or TCU.
Ooh, they feel slighted.
Interesting note, TCU, and there's another team. But if you were involved in the scandal and on the bubble, you did not get in.
Right.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the committee consciously did that or if that's just how it worked out.
That goes back to Dennis Smith, too.
Absolutely.
33 net, 35 net. NC State did not get in. St. John's in the 70s with the net. I think we learned the net is crap.
Yeah.
It's a crap tool, and it needs to change because that determined all the quad 1 wins, is which they based a lot of their
exactly. That was what ESPN kept saying yesterday as they unveiled, region by region. They were just like, oh, okay, well, they're not married to the net in this case. Oh, they're not going with the net in that case. So like you said, it's there, and they say they use it, but just by their own evidence, it's like, did you look at the net? Because, like you said, they left out a lot of teams that should have been prioritized above, like a Belmont. And so it makes a lot of people scratch their heads, in addition to some of the seedings and where teams are playing. You look at, Tennessee and Cincinnati, if they both get through. Cincinnati essentially hosts that game in Ohio. Just odd regional setups too. Wisconsin has to go to San Jose to play Oregon in the first round. That's a huge advantage for Oregon. Hot Oregon team too. So let's go
Oregon rolls in that one. And by the way, real quick, I didn't like that the selection committee had said, "Oh well, we didn't use." Michigan State was apparently the number 1 too. Well, why did they get paired with a number 1
with
Duke?
the overall seed?
And he said, "Oh, it's because we tried to find them the best geographical location."
Oh,
Correct me if I'm wrong, but how is
that's
D.C.
garbage.
closer for Michigan State than Kansas City? How is D.C. closer for Michigan State than Louisville?
Yep.
You could have put Tennessee and D.C. and paired them with Duke. and you could have put Michigan State in Louisville and paired them with Virginia. And that's an equidistant trip, and actually probably values the season that Michigan State did as the next team that didn't get a 1 seed. I thought that was garbage.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, and we'll get to you in just a second. The committee has an impossible job. They're never going to make everybody happy, right? But some of these decisions, like you were just pointing out, they're so head-scratching, putting the top 2 seed in the same bracket as the top 1 seed, not just on the same side, but in the same region essentially.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know why they're going to always get it right? Because when the ball goes up in the air at 11:02 on Thursday,
who the heck cares?
Jay Billis called it idiot-proof.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what this bracket looks like. This bracket, however they decide to construct it, is magic. There's a carpet ride that's going to happen at 11 o'clock Central and noon Eastern all over the country over the first 4 days of this tournament. And every single year it delivers. Sit back and enjoy it. It's a thing of beauty. It's the best 3 weeks in sports.
Magic pixie dust. You forget all grievances you had with the bracket.
No question.
But it's interesting. The committee kind of went away from some of the standard things they do with region. Like you talked about, Cincinnati's basically hosting a second-round game if they win. Kansas would be playing in Kansas City in the Sweet 16. And you talked about Wisconsin going to Oregon. I mean, it's interesting, the fact. And then also, you talked about the net. In the first year of the net, they didn't value it as much as we thought they would. And then Championship Sunday did not matter. Michigan State beat Michigan for the third time. They're the number 1-2 seed, and they're with Duke. And Michigan gets an easier draw. And then Cincinnati beats Houston in the Atlantic 10 Conference Championship.
No respect.
And Houston's a 3 seed, and Cincy's a 7 seed. Now, then again, it makes up because Cincy will be playing basically a home game in the second round. But it seemed like
a 5 seed.
Yeah. And Auburn was an 8 seed a few weeks ago. But I mean, it's just like Sunday absolutely did not matter because you feel bad for Michigan State. I mean, what more could they have done? I think Tom Izzo gets the Coach of the Year. Maybe Kelvin Sampson, but Tom Izzo with unlimited injuries, then an injury in the conference championship game against Michigan.
Absolutely. And
they're still able to get a share of the Big Ten regular season title. They win the Big Ten tournament.
Without Langford.
They've got, at one point, they had 11 Quadrant 1 wins. Number 1 in the country. 11. I mean, Tom Izzo has done an incredible job, and then they get a horrible draw going in Duke's region. But like you said, I mean, once the tournament starts, who cares? It's magical.
And yeah, the argument against that could be that, well, if Michigan State plans on going all the way, they likely would have had to play Duke anyway. It's just around sooner than you would like to see them probably. But to both of y'all's point, once that ball tips, forget it. You've got your path. Go get it done.
Absolutely.
Let me ask y'all this: do y'all have? What's your biggest round 1 upset as far as seeding, matchup, you name it? And Luke, we'll start with you.
We've kind of mentioned this. I think Belmont's going to beat Temple in the play-in game and then beat Maryland. And then I think Liberty has a really good chance of beating Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State is seated way too high at 5. I don't think they have any really good signature wins. And then Liberty is a very, very good team. They're very sneaky. So I'm going to pick Liberty over Mississippi State.
A lot of it's how efficient Mississippi State's going to be offensively. They're very dangerous offensively. They're not great defensively. But if Mississippi State can beat Liberty, I'm very interested in that Vatech Mississippi State game because Blackshear's so good inside. And Justin Robinson's back for Vatech, and he's been gone like the last 6 weeks. He's their most important player. Blackshear's a heck of a player.
Absolutely.
They got pieces all over the place. Buzz Williams there, all eyes will be on that locally for many reasons. But if Mississippi State gets by Liberty, that game's going down to the wire. Our maroon on maroon, it's going to be interesting because Eric Holman, Reggie Perry, Abdul Adu, they've got the rim protectors to potentially limit Blackshear. But Blackshear is a one-man wrecking crew. And he's amazing offensively. He can score inside, outside. He's good defensively. I'm so interested in that matchup that I'm hoping Mississippi State gets by Liberty to set up a Virginia Tech Mississippi State matchup. That's going to be a really fun second round.
And so in your bracket, let's follow up. If you get to that, you're picking Who to go through?
I'm picking Tech.
Tech.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tech to lose to Duke. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
I got Duke winning the championship because they've got Zion Williams.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will.
I mean, how can you go against it? I like to go against the grain a lot. I have Auburn in the Final Four.
Okay.
I have UC Irvine as a 13 beating K-State without Dean Wade. If he plays, he's going to be limited. We saw both these teams at Reed Arena this year. Max Hazard's a beast.
Yeah.
How tall is he? Not very tall, is he? But he's a monster. I love Max Hazard. They got scores. They got inside-outside game. Irvine's a good team. And I've got Irvine beating Oregon. So 12-5. Wow. You're going to pick a 12-5 every year. Yeah. You hope you get right. 75% of the brackets have at least one 12-5 upset. Almost 50% of the 12s beat the 5s. So that's going to happen every year. You got to pick one of them just for fun.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm going Oregon because they're hot. Wisconsin's also banged up. So the 12-5 Oregon and then Irvine getting to the Sweet 16 where they'll lose to Virginia. I also have Northeastern beating Kansas. I hate to say it for you, Luke. But this is, look, better Kansas teams have lost to Bradley and Bucknell.
Yeah.
Worse mid-major teams than this Northeastern team that is dangerous. Okay, so I think this just screams of a first-round out for Bill Self. Yeah. They can't shoot the three. Yeah. They don't have guys that can rim protect, get you second-chance opportunities. They don't score in the half court. I like some of their pieces, but on the whole, it's just not their year. It just screams to me first round out.
You've admitted that.
I agree.
Yeah.
See, I think they'll get past Northeastern, but I think no matter who wins the Auburn-New Mexico State game, I think they're going to lose. I think they're going to lose the second round. Yeah. Auburn, way too athletic and dynamic for Kansas, I think. Yes. And like you said, Kansas just can't score the ball.
Well, they're deeper. They're more experienced.
Oh,
What does Auburn, what does Kansas have that Auburn doesn't have in spades?
Well, yeah. Plus, Auburn's one of the most hot teams in the country right now and just won the SEC tournament. And knocked Tennessee off the regular season titles. I mean, they have Tennessee's number, who's one of the best teams in the country. Something interesting, I think one of the toughest games to pick this first round is the Florida-Nevada game. Now, interesting thing, Nevada is a 7 seed for the second year in a row. Nevada was a 7 seed last year. They were a top 5 team in the country this year. Yeah. And they're a 7 seed again.
I thought that was a little crazy.
So
that's the way they closed.
I'm sure Coach Musselman in Nevada has to be a little upset. And now, they did it to the Suns to an extent. Now, they're missing their best player, Jordan Caroline, who will be back 100%, but he was out in the tournament.
Cody Martin have something to say about that.
Yeah. But so Nevada is dynamic, but Florida is a bracket buster team. They found themselves in multiple Elite Eights in the past 6 years when we would have never guessed that. They're well coached by Mike White. And Nevada's a team where they're still Nevada. They're not a blue blood team, and they'll have Jordan Caroline back, but you still never know.
And then Florida's been hot of late.
Exactly.
Florida's shooting the three. They've been hot of late.
Nevada could lose in the first round, or they can make the Elite Eight.
So what did you decide in that game? Which one did you pick when you flipped that coin?
I'm gonna pick Nevada just because I want to see them advance. I want to see a second year of Nevada magic. But I think it's going to come down to the wire.
So assuming Nevada gets through, do you have them losing to, I'm assuming you took Michigan over the Grizz, as great as that Montana team is.
Okay, also, this is the second, Montana played Montana, that's not possible. Michigan played Montana in the first round last year.
Did they really?
Yes.
Oh,
so
wow.
that
Houston
should
in round 2, right?
Yes. Yeah. Which I was so upset. I wanted Houston to advance with Rob Gray, keep watching that Houston Magic. I'm not sold on Michigan.
Yeah.
I'm not either. I like Brazdakis a lot.
I think they were an overrated top 5 team in the country. They didn't have a ton of great wins, and they've lost to Michigan State 3 times.
Yeah, they didn't hold their spot up there at all.
I kind of thought they were the third most talented team in the SEC. I mean, in the Big Ten. I really like the Purdue team. And they score inside. They got Carson Edwards.
I might have them being upset by Old Dominion.
Ooh.
In the first round?
If Carson Edwards has a cold game, I don't think they can beat Old Dominion.
Hey, don't overlook Nova.
Yeah,
that's true.
Bay, so now they've got young guys now that this is Jay Wright.
Exactly.
They peak in March.
Right.
They're really good in the Big Ten, in the Big East tournament, and they're playing Tennessee. I got them beating Purdue. Getting to the Sweet 16 and playing in Tennessee, and I think that's going to be a barn burn.
Same. I think Villanova can shoot the ball, and you saw Tennessee against Auburn. They could not stop the Tigers from shooting threes, and Villanova can shoot the ball again this year.
Booth.
it really makes you question. I think that's Tennessee's, hardest game. I think I don't know who's going to get through to the Sweet 16 in Wisconsin and Virginia. I mean, that's who I have going. I don't trust Virginia again. I never trust them in the tournament. I mean, I love how they play defense, right? They lock it down. They play tremendous on the defensive side of the ball, but they're never built to play from behind. And whenever they lose, they get behind early and they just cannot simply play catch up. And that's what happened against UMBC last year was they came out with absolutely nothing to lose, firing a bunch of threes off, and Virginia just wasn't built with that kind of offensive firepower to catch up. So
I don't see Gardner-Webb hanging with them.
No. I think they get through the first round.
I think a possible Ole Miss matchup is tough. A defensive Ole Miss team with a Virginia team that just has historically struggled to score points.
And a great guard play.
That could be a 45-45 game right there. I mean, low scoring. If you love defensive basketball, then that's the game you want to watch.
20-18 at half.
Virginia.
Here's the difference this year, though. All those guys are back last year that experienced that pain, and I was there.
That's true.
In Charlotte, I was courtside when.
Plus, they're missing their
Jarris Lyles
man.
went full Jarris Lyles. I mean, he became a true March Madness sensation.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't forget the name. I'll keep bringing it up, but DeAndre Hunter is healthy, and he didn't play last year.
Right.
And that guy should be a top 5 pick. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Mitch, I don't know where the dang scouts have DeAndre Hunter going, but he's going to play 10 years in the NBA, and he'll make an all-star team.
Yeah.
That guy is a beast. And you bring him back, and that's a huge added dimension for this group, where it's not just Kyle Guy camping out looking for an open shot and Jerome, a corner 3 shooter. I mean, they've got a lot of veterans, motivation from losing it last year. They want to make a run, an incredible coach, and DeAndre Hunter. He makes a big difference. So Braxton Key off the Alabama transfer and DeAndre Hunter, I think it makes a difference.
I agree with that.
I still think they lose to Tennessee in the Elite Eight.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to my next question. Let's shrink down the bracket now. Go to your Elite Eight, just for time's sake here. And Luke, I guess we'll start with you. Where do you have this Elite Eight ending up?
I haven't fully picked my bracket yet. I don't see how Duke loses. I'm bought in on Tennessee. I don't think they played very well against Auburn in the SEC final, and I think they're so deep with Bowden, with their point guard.
Bone's their best.
With Bone, I mean, Bowden had 18 and 10 and had a perfect stat line against A&M. I mean, he is consistent as all get out. Plus Schofield and Grant Williams. Yeah, Grant Williams. I don't know if he'll win SEC Player of the Year, but he's got a strong chance to do back-to-back. Which
he did. He did win it.
He did win it.
Yeah.
I mean,
skiing or whatever.
And that is that hasn't been done very many times.
It's the first time it's happened since Corliss Williamson, 95.
Wow.
Back to back.
I don't know how much Grant Williams translates to the NBA, his game, because he's an undersized big guy.
Yeah.
But he is the definition of a machine in college. You can't guard him. Plus, I like Rick Barnes as a coach. Amazing guy. His players love playing for him. The team has unbelievable unity.
Oh yes,
and they're incredibly deep and athletic. Plus, I'm sure they're fired up with how they ended things, missing out on a regular season title in the SEC, plus losing in the championship game in the SEC tournament. I'm bought in on Tennessee. I'm not sure who my Cinderella is this year. I really want to see Nevada advance, and I really want to see Murray State advance.
Yeah, the Racers just bring such an energy to the court. I mean, their video yesterday when they got let in and figured out where they were going to be, the whole building that they were in, I guess they were in their gym, went absolutely bonkers. And people were like, okay, well, Murray State may just ride that little wave of momentum through Marquette and on into the tournament. I agree with you. I think Murray State is a team to watch for sure. I don't know how far they get. I think if they run into Gonzaga and Rui Hachimura, their tournament's going to end there. Gabe, what about you? Where are you looking for your Elite Eight?
All right, I got Duke and Michigan State with Duke coming out of the East. I got the Zags. I like Hachimura. I like the big kid, Clark. I think they've got better guards than people give them credit for. Guys that have been around for 10 years playing the guard positions, it would appear. And Mark Few is one of the top 5 to 6 coaches in college basketball. Yep. I like them coming out of that. Syracuse in the second round, probably FSU. Now, that's going to be interesting. FSU and their rim protectors, a battle of bigs inside. If Florida State plays the Zags in the Sweet 16, that's going to be a heck of a matchup.
Oh, absolutely.
Leonard Hamilton is 70 years old, looks 40.
He sure does.
And still has energy. A really good staff there. Dikembe Mutombo's nephew, blocking shots left and right. Help side defense like crazy. We saw it here with Rob, really good help side defender for 2 years at A&M. Ken Mbali or whatever his name is, that big inside is really good. They got pieces. I like Tech over Michigan, okay, but I like the Zags to get to the Final Four. In the South, Virginia over Cal Irvine to get to the Elite Eight with Tennessee beating Nova. Okay, and I think Tennessee-Nova is going to be a great matchup. I don't put it past Jay Wright. I think Jay Wright – I still think Coach K's in his prime, okay?
Oh, I agree.
In his early 70s. Outside of that, I don't think there's a better coach going right now in his prime than Jay Wright.
Yeah.
He's got the best culture in college basketball. The way he recruits to it, he'll redshirt dudes in a world of one-and-dones.
Oh, and he doesn't play by the 5 stars rule. I mean, Javon Quinterly is not on the team anymore.
Right.
Because Jay Wright wasn't going to put up with his attitude.
Exactly.
And they're still winning games.
Their culture is amazing. When the players start coaching, players coach there.
Yeah.
I mean, Eric Pascal's coaching.
Oh, yeah.
Booth, coaching. It's pretty amazing to see what they've done.
That team was full of coaches last year.
That's the 2 most connected teams in college basketball that could potentially match up in the Sweet 16. The best 2 cultures, 2 most connected.
Yeah.
In terms of chemistry, Tennessee and Nova.
Yeah.
That's going to be really fun to watch. That thing might go 3 overtimes. Yeah. Tennessee gets out and beats Virginia, goes to the Final Four. And then when Auburn beats Northeastern, who beat Kansas, I'm more worried about New Mexico State than I am Kansas against Auburn, the Aggies. But whatever happens there, Auburn's going to beat Northeastern or Kansas and play Carolina. Okay, so Kobe White is the fastest player in the tournament probably. Jared Harper's not far behind. He's a year older and a better shooter. Bryce Brown's the best shooter in that matchup. Cameron Johnson I love, but he's more like a stretch 4 player that can really shoot it and do a lot of little things. But Okeke is probably even a better prospect who's really coming on. McLemore shoots the Sam Perkins set jumper from 3, the little set shot, and then you've got Wiley getting you boards and can body up Luke May. What did we see last year against Luke May when A&M took on the defending champs and housed them in their own state?
Yeah.
It is you got to body him up, and Tyler Davis and Rob did a great job against May. They took him out of that game. Wiley's a guy that can do that, along with Okeke. They've got depth in there, and they'll go as fast as you want to go. So if Carolina wants to go breakneck, Auburn can go breakneck.
Oh, yeah.
And they can win at that pace all day long. They got the depth to hold up. So I like Auburn over Carolina, and then although Kentucky seems to have Auburn's number, it'd be hard to beat them again. So let me get Auburn to the Final Four. That's what I got. Duke, Zags, Tennessee, Auburn. And then can Auburn beat Tennessee 3 times in 2 weeks?
That would be insane.
No, they can't. Tennessee will win the game. Duke over Tennessee for the national championship.
Okay.
That Midwest region
crazy.
It's
just
crazy.
Yeah. It's so stacked.
You've got the 3
every single game.
The 3 of the 4 most winningest programs in college basketball history in Kansas, Kentucky, and UNC. I think UNC is an overrated 1 seed. I honestly would have put Tennessee as the 1 seed, especially if they would have beat Auburn in the SEC tournament final. I think that really hurt them. UNC.
They talked about, to your point, they talked about Tennessee replacing Gonzaga, not UNC.
That's fair. And UNC, I don't think they have a ton of amazing wins. But then you look at teams like a Utah State. That's not an easy game for Carolina in the second round. Auburn, New Mexico State. Don't forget about U of H.
I agree.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned them.
And what about Iowa State with the way they're playing defense right now?
Iowa State, who seems to win the Big 12 championship every single year.
They got the Toronto kids that are really good.
Yep.
Iowa State could beat Kentucky if they play a great basketball.
I think who did Houston beat this year?
Then Seton Hall Wofford's a great game in a 7-10.
Yeah.
That's the most intriguing matchups across the board.
Yeah, no, I agree. In my bracket that I'm submitting in, whichever groups I'm playing in, I do have Kentucky over Wofford, but the Wofford team can shoot. They're electric. I mean, Kentucky, if Kentucky were to have a bad game and just not play their brand of basketball, which we have seen earlier in the year. Now, I mean, Kentucky comes into this, they've got rest. They were talking about on the broadcast yesterday, okay, winning the SEC tournament when you're a 2 seed, isn't the worst thing in the world. Do you get the title? No, but you get that rest. You get that extra time to prepare for your tournament team. But still, I mean, we've seen, blue chip teams in the past crumble. Duke is known for that as well. I just have a feeling about Wofford that at least I think it could be a very, very close game. If not, Wofford walks out of that with a win.
Yeah, and then that Cameron Jackson, P.J. Washington matchup in the second round if Wofford gets by Seton Hall, but that's going to be a difficult challenge. But that's a battle of bigs. It's going to be interesting. And then McGee can just fill it up. He could go for 30 for Wofford. Now, Seton Hall's playing good basketball at the right time. And I watched a lot of that Big East tournament because you're crazy if you don't watch the Big East tournament. It's like old school 80s NBA.
Oh, yeah.
Knockdown, drag out, dudes diving all over the place, elbows.
Those games have the most energy of any college basketball in the country.
Oh, I watch the Big East all the time. I mean, it's the only reason I still have FS1, just so I can watch Big East basketball.
That's right. With Houston.
And my man Gus Johnson, of course.
Oh, of course. And we need Gus Johnson to call PGA Tour events and just go insane.
That would be
Call
great.
The Masters. I'm sure old-fashioned golf
and
fans
Billy Horsch will
like
hear it. He got it.
Oh, that'd be great. Houston beat LSU in the beginning of the season as an 11-12 matchup. Houston is not just a team. Oh, they played in a bad conference. Of course, they win 30 games. Houston is the real deal.
Oh, yeah.
They're incredibly coached, incredible team. They've got good wins. Man, that is just – the Midwest is exciting.
I do wonder about Houston, though. They had that really bad loss towards the end of the season to UCF.
Yeah.
And then they can't close it out. They lose to Cincy. I do wonder how consistent they can be. I mean, obviously they went, 30-3 this year?
31-3.
31-3.
School record 31-1.
Yeah, so they're a great team. They played really, really solid basketball, but some of those losses that they took this year, like the one to UCF, it's a bad loss. And Iowa State is playing very, very good basketball. They rolled through the Big 12 tournament. I mean, they clocked Kansas in the Big 12 championship game.
Oh, yeah.
So
the problem with Houston is they have a tough time getting second chance opportunities.
Yeah.
They have to make
a lot
threes.
of guard play.
Yeah.
Yeah, their best rebounder is Armani Brooks. You know how tall he is? He's 6'3".
Not tall.
Yeah.
Hazard, by the way, 6 feet, $170, dripping wet.
Yeah.
So
he may be 5'10", but I like that guy a lot.
Yeah.
Max Hazard, he just with that name, with his game, with his size.
Mad Max.
He screams of this year's Jarris Lyles kind of player.
Yeah.
A guy that we're going to remember his name.
Sure.
And I hope you're right, Luke. I hope John Morant plays 4 games. Because America would win if they get on a run, because he's so much fun to watch. And he's been hidden a lot of times because it's hard to find their games a lot.
Yeah.
So you have Duke going to your national championship.
I do.
Go ahead or winning your national championship. Go ahead and finish up your thought.
Duke is the easy pick, especially with Zion, because they're unbelievable with Zion. Statistically, they're way worse without him.
Right.
But sometimes the obvious pick just doesn't happen. A lot of the time it doesn't happen.
A lot of the time it doesn't happen.
So I'm not sure yet who my winner is. I would be all for a Duke-Tennessee championship game. I think that'd be great. I think a name we haven't really talked about who could make a run is Tech.
Yeah,
they're
a lot of
a
people
sleeper.
Have them in their final
The
four.
second round possible Buffalo-Texas Tech game.
Does Tech have enough offensive weapons to survive 4 or 5 games?
If you shut down Jarrett Culver,
you're in trouble.
Exactly. Yeah. If he doesn't get you 20 points, Tech's in trouble.
I mean, they lost 4 starters last year.
Yeah.
They lost Zaire Smith and a bunch of seniors, Evans. For them to come back this year, he might be in line for Coach of the Year.
Oh,
too.
exactly.
He should
Absolutely.
be. Chris Beard's been unbelievable this year. A lot of projections didn't have them in the tournament at the start of the season.
Yeah. And they won the Big 12.
Yeah. Hey, let me give you one more. Is all this love for Houston, and I love him, and I'm a big fan of Kelvin Sampson. All that dude does is win. And had he not gotten in trouble at Oklahoma, they would have won the national championship. With everything they had coming back, he signed Scotty Reynolds and Damian James.
Yeah.
And Scotty Reynolds ended up going to Villanova and becoming a stud. Damian James a stud at Texas. With everybody else they had coming in and back, and then soon after that, the Griffins. So, I mean, they were loading up big time until he screwed up with the over-texting and everything else. He did the same thing at Indiana, but this guy can flat coach the game. The time spent with Popovich has clearly paid off. That's another guy at 62, 63 years old.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you they're going to pay up to keep him there. They got the facility. They've got the casino man, the owner of the Rockets.
Yeah.
they're going to do what it takes to keep him there, I bet.
Fastest to 100 wins at U of H.
Let me tell you, Ron Hunter's more than just an entertaining dude at Georgia State. And they've won games in the tournament. Sure. They beat Baylor with his son, RJ, a few years back. But he's got four or five different guys that shoot over 41% on threes. Mm-hmm. They fill it up, and that's what Houston does. Mm-hmm. So this is a very mirror image of each other. They don't rebound much. Whoever makes, and this is the tournament. I can't tell you Houston's going to be hot in Tulsa. What is that, Thursday or Friday? No. It's Friday.
Yeah.
On Friday morning, I can't tell you if Houston or Tulsa is going to be hot.
Yeah.
I mean, Houston or Georgia State. But if Georgia State comes up and shoots the basketball, which they really can, they can beat Houston.
Sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I watched that Georgia State, Georgia State, UT Arlington game. UTA would keep in probably 6 to 7 point range, but then you'd have a guy that looks like he has no business pulling out from three, get hot from the perimeter. That's like to your point of them having multiple guys that can stretch the floor. That is the most dangerous thing in an NCAA tournament team, the ability to have multiple guys hit threes, because with energy and with enthusiasm and with the feel of playing in a tournament, man, your team could get hot if you got multiple guys that can stretch the floor. And like you said, against the Houston team that has the same kind of play style, whoever's hot is going to win that game.
There's nothing more electric than a team that is on fire hitting 3 points. I mean, you see that time and time again, especially if you have your crowd there in attendance. I mean, the bench is going wild. So, yeah, I mean, that very much could turn into just a streak-type game. Who can, chain the most three-pointers in a row together and sustain that run. I like that pick for sure. I think Houston does win that game, but it really is a coin flip. And if you were to pick Georgia State, I don't know that you could fault anyone for picking that 14 over a 3 because they're so similar.
Oh, yeah.
Well, after a brief intermission, we're back. NCAA tournament talk is officially in the rear view mirror, I should say. We wanted to move into the lesson portion, which it's not necessarily a formal lesson, but more of a conversational tone here as we conclude episode 31. And with that, I'll turn it over to Luke.
So, I'm talking off air with Sir Gabriel Bock. We were kind of talking about relational.
My sir now?
Of course.
It's not Mister.
Gabe, how about
that? My dad.
The G-man, the patriarch of this studio. We were talking about relational evangelism and how to go about that in the sports world and in general, and just, I guess, kind of open up to you. How do you go about being a Christian in the sports world that's so highlighted by secular beliefs?
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing being a part of an organization that allows us, when the opportunity presents itself to, and is run by believers, and when the opportunity presents itself to go there. And I really appreciate what you guys do with your, being out. The whole format of your program is both the double coverage of sports and your faith and your beliefs, and that's what this thing is founded on. For me, being in mainstream AM, FM, television, it's very interesting. Let's just go about our program, and when the opportunities present itself, especially when you get a guest on that has a story to tell, allowing them the opportunity to tell their story in hopes that you will connect with somebody out there, and somebody will connect with this story in such a way that it'll touch them and potentially, elicit change in their life in a lot of ways. So if I go on the air every day and, hey, Jesus this, faith that, a lot of times it might fall on deaf ears.
Yeah.
So it's just really important to live your life in such a way that when people will see your work, they'll realize it's not you. And I hope that at the end of the day, they'll realize that it's not Gabe Bock or even TexAgs, and I guarantee you there's some dudes at office here every day upstairs that it starts from that in that regard, is that let's live our life and do our work in such a way that people will see us, but when they see us, they'll praise Jesus, right? And praise God. And they'll
leading into and that kind of leads in the next question is how important is it to, I guess, indirectly evangelize with, you're not directly telling people about Jesus or on air talking about your faith, but indirectly in the conversations you have, the words you use, how you act, let's go more into that. How important is that?
I think that's vital because we don't have 100% knowledge of who's actually tuning in at the right time or where they are in their walk and their faith, where they are in their life, what they're dealing with. You want to build up a trust and a loyalty amongst your listeners so that when you get the opportunity, and that's important anyway. I mean, ratings are important. This is a money-making industry. This is a for-profit industry. We're not doing this for fun. I mean, it is fun. It is a vacation every day, essentially, unless you're banged up and your throat's sore. But at the same time, when the opportunity truly presents itself, you know, when Yemi Babalola goes to prison at Texas A&M and misses his senior year because he broke into a house and taped a dude to a chair and beat him in a drug situation, and he goes to prison and misses his senior year where he was going to be a first, second round pick as a left tackle. And then he gets out of prison as a changed man, and you bring him on the show. Where you got to get into where the change comes from, especially when you have knowledge that it's because of his faith, because he got saved, even though his dad was a minister and he grew up in the church and he knew the knowledge. His life wasn't transformed until he was in prison. Yeah. So when that dude gets out of prison, you got to tell the story, right? And then so you wait for those opportunities that present itself to allow a guest who's built up a lot of credibility with who they are on the field of play a lot of times, allow them those opportunities to really dive in. But relationships are interesting. I'm not the best. I think Lucci's a way better relationship person than I am, right? In terms of that guy has a special ability to connect with people. Yeah. And it means a lot to him. And that's a huge part of our organization is Billy's ability to connect with people. Billy goes to bed at 4 a.m. I wake up at 4 a.m. So we're polar opposite. Together we got a 24-hour clock surveillance, right? But I'm not great at it because a lot of times I'm so focused on getting tasks done and getting it done and doing the show and doing the best show I can possibly do and then moving on to the next thing. And there's a million things going on. I got 3 kids. They're all involved in all kinds of stuff. I'm working on Easton's even playing and get them to stop chopping and all this kind. I mean, we're working on all kinds of stuff. Ella's in volleyball, piano. Everly's dancing. And there's all kinds of stuff going on that one of my resolutions this year is to get better at interpersonal relationships, even with guys like you guys. And, you know, Dalton and I have had conversations about that. I got to be better in that regard. And as a believer, I'm supposed to be better in that regard. And so those are things that we can always work on. And, you know, that's evangelism in a lot of ways is just building up relationships with people. And evangelism as a believer, that doesn't have to be me saying, hey, good morning, it's 8:06. Jesus died for you and he loves you, right? 693-1150 to call and talk about that. It's more than just going to the fish pond and standing on top of it and telling everybody that you know, and presenting the gospel in front of whoever's walking by, passersby. It could be let's go have a beer at you know, Carney's on a Thursday at 3:00. And then let's dive into whatever we dive into. The relationship piece of it is something that is extremely important because a lot of times the first part that I talked about can fall on deaf ears.
Absolutely.
But building the relationship, which is something I'm trying to get better at, is where you're going to make a huge impact on people's lives.
Of course.
Well, let me ask you this. We have, you know, our audience is a lot of college students or at least younger people, maybe young professionals. You just described an extremely busy day, whether it's, you know, getting up at 4 a.m. or chasing your kids around.
I get up at 4 a.m. because that's the only time the kids are still asleep.
That's right.
That's my time.
Right.
My coffee, my dog, my internet.
Yeah.
Right? Because at 5, I wake my wife up. The kids are up before 6.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, I'm trying to get right. Right? So I get up so early because that's quiet time.
Yeah.
For Mr. Gabe.
Exactly. Right. And that's what I'm asking you is with this busy schedule, when do you find your time to fill your cup back up, right? You know, you're talking about all these relationships and pouring out into other people and sharing the gospel with other people, but when in your busy schedule do you find time to have your devotional, and how difficult is that to make that a pattern?
Extremely difficult.
Yeah.
It's extremely difficult to find a pattern when every day is different.
Sure.
When, Monday is press conference day, but Tuesday there's a game, but then, so I'm working nights there, and where's that? Today is Diamond Notes, but I hadn't even started yet, right? And I got to go write a column, and then we're going to go take Ella to the Gary Blair thing because she's all into women's basketball.
Yeah.
And so when are we going to get that time? When am I going to get that time today?
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep up with my wife who's killing it in Bible in a year. I mean, killing it. Went on the internet, had 100 people commit. She's like keeping up with 100 different people on the internet to keep them motivated, including me. And she's on point because I wake her up at 5, and she's got an hour there to work on that. And in the morning, I'm not working on it, so it's usually right after the show.
Yeah,
you gotta find time to get it in, and it's really difficult. It's like dieting, and exercise. Is trying to find time to make sure you do that. And so that's definitely a daily struggle for me.
Yeah,
to try to find time in the schedule and I'm a task kind of guy, to get it all done, but at the same time thrive and not just survive. And so a lot of times I'm about 8 days behind Bible in a year, but it's been pretty amazing. The conversations that come out of that when Megan and I are doing it at the same time. And, I never read numbers the way I'm reading numbers now because we've been doing it together.
Yeah.
And what that truly means. And so it's been, sometimes you just fly through that and hope to get done with it. But there's a lot of stuff in there.
Absolutely.
There is a lot of stuff in there. It's more than just census material, I'm telling you.
Sure, absolutely.
So that's hard, Mitch. It really is, to find that daily time to do it. I never do it before the show. But I'm trying to do some different things to make sure I'm getting it in at least a little bit before the show, even if it's just, hey, memorize a little verse while you take the dog out.
Yeah.
It's just the little things you can try to do. Sure. I'm taking the dog out anyway, so I might as well just try to do something in that regard. I try to turn on a little Christian music driving into the show every morning and just pray for my family, friends, TexAgs, whatever, while I'm driving in. You try to get it in where you can get in, but to say that's not a daily struggle to make sure that I'm filling my cup up and not just going on fumes every day that'd be an understatement.
Yeah.
So
I think cycling back to something you said about evangelism being relationships, I mean, going and grabbing a beer with someone. I mean, a lot of evangelism can be slowly steering someone towards more eternal things, and their heart is over time softened to the point to where you have a perfect opportunity to tell them the gospel, and they're more able to receive it. Now, of course, we're not advocating for never sharing the gospel with someone. Like if you're called to share the gospel with someone,
which we are,
of course, by all means do that. But that's not all the time. Sometimes it does take slowly being relational with someone, and it steers them through hanging out with them and spending time with them. They see your mind and actions set on eternal things, and they're more drawn to that, to the point of they're more able to receive the good news when God calls you to share that.
Right. Oh, 100%. No, I think that's a big deal.
And then another question is, I mean, you mentioned it's tough to find time in your day to fill your cup up. What would you say to college students who say, I'll start really taking my faith seriously after college? Because honestly, for us right now as college students, it's easy. We're not in the working world, don't have families, don't have kids. I mean, right now is the time to build habits and build patterns.
No question.
When you're after college, you have that foundation in store to be able to continue to fill your cup up.
Oh man, getting your routine now, because I thought I was extremely busy in college, and we were involved in all kinds of stuff. And I mean, I guarantee you, there's not a person on campus that doesn't know Luke Heaton. All right, so you got to be busy to be able to build up that kind of material. Right, I mean, this guy walks on campus, and I keep getting emails from dudes from big event and every organization. Oh, well, I'm friends with Luke Heaton. I got to get on the show, right? And I'm putting them on, right? Because they're friends with Luke Heaton.
Of course.
But and they got good stuff going on. So Luke, Mitch, but it's like that takes a lot of. You're busy. You guys are real busy with networking, with trying to get class. Mitch doesn't want to make a B in his life, so he's trying to pass this one class, and it's taking him.
Oh, no, I accepted the B fate a long time ago. It's the C's that I'm trying to
He
stay
can't
out
make
of.
a C. Mama's going to be mad. Right. He can walk across that stage with a diploma, but if he gets that C.
Of course.
Yeah, no all A's money anymore,
That's
Mitch.
right.
All right.
Nope.
So with that comes a lot of responsibility. We have you guys busy. I mean, you're diving into writing, both of you, and on-air stuff and everything else you're doing. And you have to balance that, and it is busy. And I remember being just crazy busy, making $30 a week answering phones for Chip Howard and subsidizing that weekly strong income with waiting tables at Chili's. And despite what Billy will tell you, I did not get fired from Chili's. I was a good waiter at Chili's. I got fired from Sweet Eugene's, where I was a regular anyway. So after I got fired, I just stayed there and studied.
That's right.
Aaron, I gotta love Aaron. He's still there, but I thought you couldn't get any busier than this until then we get out in the working world, and then we get married, and you're trying to balance all that. You're trying to love your wife. You're trying to figure out how to live with someone of the opposite sex.
Yeah,
and then you got all these kids. So it's not getting any easier than it is right now.
Yeah,
and my wife will tell you she very much misses her time in college because that was a thriving time.
Absolutely.
You got to try extremely hard with all the pressures and stuff of the real world pulling at you as a 30-something to thrive like we were able to do in college. So
absolutely.
Get into it now, man. Get in that routine because it's not getting any slower. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Classes, I mean, it is stressful right now for a college kid. I get it. But what a time to be alive when you're 18 to 22.
That's right.
So excited to finish up the last half of my last semester here and be an adult now.
Look forward to it, Mitch. It's going to be fun.
I'm excited. Well, that's your questions, right?
That's all. I think I'm all questioned out.
Perfect. I mean, this has been a great show. I've gotten to talk sports, gotten to talk faith, and Gabe, we really appreciate you taking some of your time out of, like you said, a very, very busy schedule to grace the airwaves with us for episode 31 of Double Coverage Sports Talk presented by Elevated Sports. That's a wrap. We really appreciate you guys listening, spending part of your day with us, wherever you may be listening. Until next week, episode 32, y'all take it easy. Have a good one.